Hi, this is Lady Lexi UK, and this is the director's commentary of the Lexi Awards. If you haven't seen the original video, go check that one out now. That doesn't have me talking all over it. So this is a commentary telling you the ins and outs of making the video and explaining my choices, my nominations, and my winners, and just generally talking about the making of this. So let's go. Right, so the music you can hear, this fanfare I wrote in Dreams. I based it on a Oscar opening titles piece of music, but it is an original piece. The Lexi Award itself, I made that actually quite quickly, based on an imp design. I want it to look a bit like sort of an Oscar shape, I guess, sort of a tall, thin thing, which is different to the Impy Award, which is a sort of squat square with an imp on the top. And I did all of this way before Media Molecule announced their awards and showed off what they'd done. It was a little bit of a, well, I don't want to say kick in the teeth, but it was a bit like, oh no, they're going to do their own awards and that's going to take the shine off of this. But I've been working on it since September. I've played more than 11,000 games in order to prepare for it, so I wanted to make sure that I covered as many games as possible. Obviously, it's not possible to play everything in Dreams, but I think 11,000 is doing well. That make up the Dreamiverse. I made this model of me to do the presenting. One of my subscribers suggested maybe that I could do something similar to this, and I thought, yeah, that's a really, really great idea. So I made myself a little avatar. She's a lot thinner than me. But I had a lot of fun making her anyway. So the idea here is to mimic, obviously, an awards ceremony. And I gave myself a bit of a big task, so I decided that I was going to bring in characters from the Dreamiverse in order to give away the awards. And it was interesting that some of the characters I would have liked to have given awards weren't available for remixing. They had to be available for remixing to do it. Right, okay, Best Adventure Games. Eggbot by Bob Tox. I picked this because it is extremely full. It's a very long game, actually. There's a lot to it. Lots of lovely puzzles in it. Best Adventure Game, expiry date. Again, I really enjoyed this. It was one of the earlier games of early access. It's got zombies and things in it, and it's a lot of fun. Happy Jack, again, a very full game. Lots to do, lots to play. I didn't really show it off very well in this clip, but it's very difficult because you have to play through quite a lot of the game in order to get to some more interesting clips, and sometimes they're not right at the beginning. And I had so many clips to do that I couldn't always do it. Mimeo Prophecy, if you haven't played this is also a very full game. Great graphics, nice characterization. Topher Thieves. This surprised me because Topher Thieves, when the teaser trailer came out, everybody was really excited about that during the beta because it was very impressive. And then when the game actually finally came out, it didn't get as many plays and interest as I think it deserved. It should have done a lot better than it has done, and it's a great little adventure game, that Topher Thieves. Really impressive. The graphics here that you see, they're not made in Dreams. It is some stock footage. I could have made something in Dreams, but I had this and it seemed to fit nice. Frederick Fox by Cody Bear. This is all over Dreams, very popular in the beta. I love this character model. It's really lovely. Even tried remodeling and putting him in different clothes, which actually is much harder to do than I thought it was going to be. But I left him in his normal outfit to present this. So best arcade game. Now, people might be surprised about what I regarded as an arcade game. This is Art Therapy. It's very hard to know how you would define some of these games into very specific categories, but I figured there's a score to be made on this. This is an arcade game, maybe a little bit more obviously an arcade game, but if it's got a scoreboard, it's not a platformer, it's not an adventure game, then it's an arcade game, and that's the category I did. This is a late game for me. I haven't played even all of it. It's very impressive. It's lots of different games. It's very hard to know what to present. This one, I wasn't sure whether to put this in the platforming category or stick it in arcade, and I decided in the end to go with arcade, as it's not really strictly a platformer. Havoc in Wonderland, this is one of my favourite retro games, and I don't think this has done as well as it ought to have done. It was in the Classic Novels Game Jam, and the winner was obviously Game Factory. There's so many games in here, so many mini games. So think of the best arcade category as arcade and mini games, and I think that's probably about right for that category.
Please welcome the presenter of the best medium molecules, basic puppets.
It was hard to decide which characters to pick, and also to do the voices, because I had limited choices of what voices I was going to use. I could use computer voices, or I could do the voices myself, and I really enjoyed giving the basic puppet a northern accent. I thought it was funny.
Here are the nominees.
Bit combat game. I really like that. Right, combat games then. I went with first person and third person, anything that involves shooting or sword play or anything like that. That wasn't an adventure. It was more of a shooting experience or whatever. This is a fantastic game on a rail. This one, Revenge of the Exos, another classic third person beat 'em up style game. Great graphics all round. The model herself is really nicely done. Samurai Slash, I got a lot of fondness for this game. I saw this develop from the beginning, when both eyes were the same colour, and then and wearing the same outfit, and this has all got changed. La Dinta is a late one. Now, for some reason, the recording of the clip looks like it's a bit stilted. It isn't. That's my recording, I'm afraid. It didn't come out particularly well for some reason. Plywood Wonderland is another beta creation, which was really fun. What I really like is the commentary that goes on over the tannoy. That's really rather funny. They did a great job with that. So La Dinta won because, quite honestly, it's really impressive. It's a combat platformer, but I decided to put it in combat rather than platformers. It's got lots of lovely robots. You can climb up walls and all sorts of things. It's really good.
To present the horror category, Diamond Yancey 10's Granny Snail.
So here's Granny Snail. I believe that's Diamond Yancey's model. Another popular character from the beta.
Don't want to meet
I would have liked to have put Green Guy in here, but he wasn't available. So there were a few characters that I think would have been nice, but they just weren't remixable, so I couldn't use them. Best horror game. So this is Beyond the Nightmare. The impressive thing about this is probably the realism behind it. It's not, and it's a psychological horror in that very little actually happens. You're just wandering around. It just feels creepy, which probably lets it down in terms of winning a horror category. This game's fantastic. This I would say this is more of a sort of a interactive movie style thing. If you haven't check out Long Way Home. That was early on in Dream's life. And The Outer Depths, chapters 1 through 4 by Great Scott. This is an epic piece of work. I mean, this has been going on since the beta. Lots and lots of chapters of this, and it's just beautifully done. This was done for the Halloween Game Jam, and it's really nice. Again, lovely realism. It's a relatively short pick your own point and click adventure. This game is particularly good. It's got lots of poltergeist activity and stuff in it when you get into the house, which is really great. So check that one out if you haven't already.
And the winner is...
I picked the Outer Depths over everything else, basically because of its epicness, because it was so full, there's so much of it. It does have a lot to Dead Space-ishness about it, but it is original. And I think it's worthy winner of the horror category. So here's Connie. Now, I had problems with Connie because I used possession recording to actually get them to walk towards the microphone. And by doing that, she loses her eyes when you play it back. So I had to give her some eyes, which I'm not overly happy about, but what can you do? I really wish when you possess... Because when you possess it and record it, you can see the eyes, but when you play it back, you can't, which is... bit of an annoyance. Right, best platformer then. There were so many to choose from. It was really difficult category. There were some amazing things in here. Talking about amazing things that got left out, you may be surprised to find out that there are some obvious favourites that are just not in here, such as Ruckus, Pig Detective, Slide Out. None of these made it to the shortlist because of the criteria that I set up for what was eligible for an award. So it could not contain any copyright material. I had a problem with the horror category for that because a lot of people used music from Poltergeist and The Exorcist, and the piece of music Close Your Eyes seemed to crop up a long time. So those were all excluded from being added. I also decided that Media Molecule Creations, it wouldn't be fair to compete against the developers that made Dreams. So I decided no Media Molecule Creations. And then I thought, well, there are collaborations.
And the winner is...
There's Pip Jen Walker, who won the platforming category. And that... as you can see, it's extremely polished and well done. So once I've excluded all the Media Molecule and all the collaborations, it discovered there were things in there that you wouldn't necessarily expect, like Ruckus and Pig Detective used Media Molecule's staff in collaboration to make those, so they weren't eligible this year. Next year I'm going to open it up to everyone, so I'm not going to exclude Media Molecule Creations, it's just going to be everything. I also excluded clones of games. So if you made a really fantastic looking Pac-Man, that's not going to be eligible because it's not an original creation in Dreams. However amazing it was. There was a really great Monty Mole game that was made, a retro style Spectrum Commodore 64 style game that was an actual copy of the game. Beautifully done, but not eligible for the awards. This is an early game that impressed everybody. I have still got no idea how this is done. Absolutely none whatsoever. This is a tour de force in programming as far as I can see. Very difficult game as well. Down the Rabbit Hole. Entropy Tamed. This won the Classic Novel Game Jam. Beautiful, beautiful Alice in Wonderland inspired level that. This now, I picked the Burger Van edition over Dorian's original Rolling Cubes, basically because this is so lovely and polished, and it gained extra points for originality, use of music, and it's also a fuller game. So that's why I picked that one. Rooms and Buttons. There was also Rooms and Buttons 2. I decided to go with the original one rather than the sequel. But check those out if you haven't played those already. Also, the Tomb escape game. This is another early game. I love this. The beginning doesn't do it justice. Once you get inside the tomb, the puzzles are really excellent in there. So Mackenzie made lots of fantastic things in the beta. So there we go, rolling cubes. It's not very dramatic and interesting to watch when you put up clips, but I found myself completely absorbed in this game. I've got to level 8 and I'm very proud of it. Right, so the next category.
Please welcome Diamond Yancey 10's version.
This caused me all end of problems, the racing category. Media Molecule, Mr. Molecule character there. I gave him this silly voice. I think it works. He bounces up and down whether you like it or not, so go with it. He has a bouncy voice. Right, the racing category. Quite clearly, the best racing game in Dreams is Slide Out 3019. However, having looked at Wipeout, it is very clearly a clone. It's very clearly not just inspired by Wipeout, but is pretty much identical. So I had to make a decision on that one, that it was too close to the original. So I had to exclude it, and then I had to look and say, okay, well, we've got Omni Kart. Now, Omni Kart is quite clearly inspired by Mario Kart. In fact, all of these games have got some inspiration somewhere for games that look very similar to it. But I had to make a decision on it, and I decided, well, it's too close to Wipeout, so it's excluded. This game here, Galaxy Race, is quite clearly Star Wars, but they didn't mention Star Wars in the game. There's no Star Wars music or anything like that would disqualify it, and it's so beautiful and smooth. Look at that. Here's Omni Kart. Yes, it's Mario Kart, but there was enough in here, I felt, that distinguished itself as its own entity and made it just a kart racer in the style of, rather than a clone of Mario Kart. But then, what did I pick as my winner? Turbulence. Now, this might surprise a lot of people because they probably haven't even played it. This I found so exciting when I played this for the first time, with planes crashing and trees falling on the road and everything. I find that exhilarating, and I enjoyed it more than I did Omni Kart, even though Omni Kart is arguably a little bit more polished as a game. I picked the game that excited me the most, so that's why I picked Turbulence. So a bit controversial. I think it's a bit of a weird one, that. Slide Out would have won in terms of technicalities and looks, but I went with the game that really hit me in the heart, made me feel like, oh yeah, this is where Dreams ought to go, because it was made quite early on as well, so it's made in the beta, right, or early access at least. Sports and leisure then. Battletops. Again, this is a thing. I know it's a Beyblades and stuff, but I put it under sports and leisure. They changed the game between me putting it in sports and leisure and now, so it's become a little bit more arcade-ish. When I first put it in there, it was a slightly different game, but hey. Bowling and Guns, quite clearly sport, so we're good with that one. I love this game. It's very simple on the surface, but there's a lot of complexity in programming going on there. Full Ball's a lot of fun. You've just got to whack this poor little fool around and then put him through the flaming hoops. Like why wouldn't you? It's a great little game. This one you probably have not seen. I found this hidden. It's a hidden gem, this one. Pathfinder drone racing. It's actually incredibly difficult. The controls they've given you make it very, very hard to control the drone, and it takes a little bit of practice. And I really enjoyed that game. I love the little Toy Town things. Here's Wingsuit World, which I picked as my winner. It's a fantastic game. It's well designed. The wingsuit character is really well done, and it's quite exciting, if not a bit frustrating to start with, trying to work out how to fly down without crashing into things or crashing into the ground. But once you get the hang of it, it's great, and you get to fly over all sorts of things. So there are Sports and Leisure winner. There are no golf games in there. I was quite surprised when I scored all of the games that I put in my short list. No golf games did that well in the scoring, interestingly enough. So I was scoring on originality, the music, the musical sound effects, the gameplay, the graphics, all of these things. A lot of games actually fell flat because they didn't have any original music in it, so they would get a lower score, or if they weren't that particularly original. Here's something really original. I love 30 Seconds Classics. Check those out. There's lots of little mini videos in there. This was winning. This was going to be my winner for such a long time. Appreciating the Rain is so classy. It's like an Oscar-winning short. Digital Dancer is also extremely good. Blade Runner-esque feel to it. But no, Appreciating the Rain would have won. And then I saw Jerry and Jenny, and it was like, oh my god, we've got a Pixar movie in Dreams. How amazing is this? This must have taken an incredible amount of time. And the character voiceover artists, it's just fantastic. This was a late entry, Seventh Doll Machina. I put this under animation. So what else can you put it under? It's the teaser trailer for a game that doesn't exist yet. But it was that impressive. I had to put it in. So there's Jerry and Jenny, about two cockroaches making their way into the kitchen to get food and come across some cats. I haven't even played all of it yet. It's a very long movie. But it's a lot of fun. Like I say, great voice acting. And like a real Hollywood movie in Dreams. So check that one out if you haven't already. So here we have the set design category. Now, you might be surprised that Disarmed X is not in here. I was surprised actually, because I looked at a lot of sets, I scored them all highly. But I think what Disarmed X lost points on is the fact that you couldn't wander around his sets. He made them during the beta. They looked amazing, and they really blew everybody's mind to start with the realism and everything. But you can't wander around them. These sets, these ones that I picked, you can walk about inside them, and I think that makes a big difference for set design, because you have to have a better design if you're going to allow people free reign, and it needs to be more full, and therefore more impressive. Poor Beyond the Nightmare, this is his second nomination. He hasn't won either of these categories, but graphically, it's a wonderful piece of work. Outpost 60, this is one of my favourites. There's not much in terms, there's no gameplay or anything, you're just wandering around this fantastic space station, and it's so beautifully designed. Everything's right. Now this blew me away when I saw this for the first time. It has gameplay in it, but the gameplay is secondary to how realistic this set looks. And it is a full point and click style game. Here's the encounter again in the beta. This again blew everyone away with its style, and look at that, that's epic. Fantastic space station. I didn't want to choose all space stations. It was easy to, there were so many great sets that were space stations. But this was definitely the winner. This is the Taken by the Rest. I couldn't give it to anything else, because I literally took my breath away when I first saw this. I thought, how I wish I had the skills to do great sets. but I don't.
Please welcome to give the award for best innovation.
Maybe I can learn it, but I doubt it. I think that's an inbuilt skill. Cardboardosaurus. When I first did this, I accidentally didn't scope in the envelope to his hand properly, and it dropped on the floor. So I thought I'd make a thing of it so that you didn't know who the winner was because he lost his envelope. Trying to stick the imp and the envelope on each of these characters was quite fun, actually. Most of them it was fine, but people like Connie, you can't attach an object very easily to a paint sculpt, which is what her arms are. So that was awkward. It's a bit hard to tell. This is built on a sphere. So you're walking around a sphere, and it's changing the seasons as you walk around. It's very, very clever. This animation here. This, when we first saw that, it's like, really? Somebody has worked out how to animate all these numbers with people building them. Now, this is unusual. This is a clip from Twitter. Tannic Alloy does a lot of Twitter vids of him doing amazing things in dreams, like tipping his television set and letting balls fall down and play. He started off making musical instruments in dreams that you could actually play, and then it ended up with that snooker thing. This is the split screen. There is no split screen in dreams, so I have no idea how that's done. And this is the gate, which is obviously blew everyone away when we first saw that. It's a lot of work in order to do something like that. I had a go myself. Did a very simplistic version. So I couldn't not give it to Tannic Alloy. I mean, look at this. He's playing snooker on his television set, made in dreams. You can see the Main Dreams logo on the top right there. This is serious. He's playing snooker with a snooker cue. Don't ask me how he's done it. It's the most amazing thing. And you can see it developing and developing and developing as he's doing more and more amazing stuff. Some of it is witchcraft. That's all I can say to Tannic Alloy and his stuff. Right, RTO, I gave her a lovely little voice. I was quite pleased with RTO's voice. I think it suits her. Artwork. Now, again, a difficult category because there's so many great artists in dreams. And actually, you'd be surprised that Ryan47 doesn't feature in this particular category. And I don't feel bad about that. I picked other people's stuff. This, as a piece of painting in dreams, is not going to be bettered as far as I'm concerned. This is it. This is the top bit of painting. Tomek, you win. There it is. That's the best painting. I couldn't believe it when I first saw it. It's like, you can do painting in dreams? I'll have to try that. And now I do quite a few paintings in dreams. Nowhere near to that standard, let me say. This is just the most beautiful model. And you can see there's some 3 space astronauts on top of that spaceship. And they're interested in their own right. Fantastic tour de force. This, I put this in basically out of sheer embarrassment because this was entered into the game jam that I won. And it deserved to win. So I've put it in. This is my penance. I am so sorry that my level won the game jam. And not your fantastic dragon. So there it is. Gorfin Women's dragon is put in. Now here, I wasn't sure. Technically this is animation. But I wanted to include this somehow. And so I decided to put in the artwork category. Because it was so impressive when we first saw that. And so beautifully done. But there's Space Pirate. Check this out because there's a lot more to it than that I've shown. The spaceship's amazing. You get a free reign camera so you can have a really good look round. It's just fantastic bit of modelling. And not that many views, not that many thumbs up. Right. So our next category, what are we doing? Okay, this is the Electrofawn Memorial Award. Electrofawn, if you're not familiar, died in 2019, not long after we started early access, and we were all quite shocked because he was so young. He was only in his early 30s, and he made some beautiful models, and it was starting to all come together for him, and he started making animated levels and stuff, and I think he would have been on track for winning this award himself at some point. But I picked Ryan 47 as I thought it embodies really the aesthetic that Electrofawn started. The whimsical, lovely characters and animals, and who could deny the talent of Ryan 47 as a graphic artist? These are just fantastic. These would make a really great book, or calendar or something. In fact, it should be a calendar. Somebody make a calendar of Ryan 47's pictures, because these are great. These are so good. So it was an easy decision, to be honest. There's nobody comes close really with the quality of artwork. So Dream of the Year, Ryan 47, congratulations. It'll be interesting to see who I pick for next year. Right, Game of the Year then. Why did I pick Pip Gem Walker? Well, there's various reasons for this. First of all, it's very polished. As a platformer, it's extremely polished. It works really well as a puzzle. It's child friendly. It embodies everything that Media Molecule likes to put in their own games. It looks like a real thing that you could possibly buy for Nintendo or something like that. So it's a great game. But on top of this, they made it remixable and launched an art kit so you could make your own Pip Gem Walker levels, which people did. And that is the most generous thing. Most people launch their games in Dreams and don't make it remixable. And I totally understand why they do that, because you don't want people stealing your thunder and making stuff with your characters, especially if you've put a lot of work into them. But they went the other way completely. They made it easy to use their character, which is so generous.
Thank you for watching.
I think it's fantastic. So there you go. There was the Lexi Awards for 2019. I don't know if I missed anything obvious out, other than the things that were, like I say, not eligible because of the criteria I set up. Like next year, it'll be a bit freer. I'll let anything go, really, as long as it hasn't got copyright music in it. I think it will be okay. There are also some categories that I didn't put in, like music and asset creation and character creation, because there was just too many to actually get my head around it. But I've started a spreadsheet already for next year, so I'll be able to, at the end of the year, I'll have a whole list of things to look at, and I won't be retrospectively trying to catch up, so it will be a better list. I did want also to have a public nominated winner as well, and I did attempt a few times to get you to nominate your favourite games, but I didn't get the amount of input that I needed to do that. So maybe next year we'll try again, maybe you can all give me your favourites then. So that's it then for 2019. I hope you enjoyed the show and that some of your favourites were there. And then I know that you'll want to tell me, I should have picked this and I should have picked that. They are personal decisions at the end of the day, and we've all got different tastes. So don't think that your game is no good if it's not in the awards, because it couldn't be far from the truth. I had a short list of about 350 games that I had to sort through, and there were some that was borderline. Any one of them could have gone into the top 5. So don't feel bad if your game is not there. It doesn't mean I didn't like it. I probably loved it. Thank you for watching. I hope you really enjoyed it, and leave in comments in below who you would have picked, and I will catch you in your dreams.